Hey, soul surfers, Brené here. Oh my. Thank you so much for joining us. We are so thrilled to build New Earth with you. And if you are returning, welcome back. We are thrilled to collaborate with you as well. And this weekly telling, this Romany storytelling, is for fun and games, for shits and giggles, for entertainment, for flexing our body, heart, mind, soul, spirit, emotions, and intuition. And at the least, we hope to cause harm to none. And at the most, we hope we may assist you on your healing path. And we are not a doctor, lawyer, therapist. We're a fortune teller. So, what we offer is no substitute for their services. Furthermore, what we share does not determine your future, only your intentions and actions do. So, please use your gifts of discernment before deciding what to gather and take away. And of course, take only what resonates and blow like a kiss the rest to the universe for cosmic composting into beauty. Thank you so much. And before we begin, for fun, holding love in our hearts, we're clearing the space all around us and the world. Please, thank you in the highest love and light. And just picturing everything copacetic, wonderful, happy, dancing, singing. Everybody is so happy and thrilled. Nobody can even possibly think about killing themselves or somebody else in any way, shape, or form. And so thrilling, dancing, singing, all the different ways that celebration is playing out in all the different areas of Mother Earth and Father Sky. Heartily, we are so grateful. So grateful. Thank you. You are a whole, full, powerful, loving, spiritual being, and so am I. And we thank your source, team, angels, ancestors, galaxy guides, saints and sages, gods and goddesses, universes here for the highest love and light, as well as mine. And we thank your source and my source for immediately shifting the situations into what they need to be, offering necessary insights, healings, acts of grace and protection. Heartily, we are grateful. And so it was, and so it was, and so it was. And so it is, and so it was. Yahoo! Thank you. So fun, so thrilling to be a part of these new times where instead of force marching, we are playing our healing cards. Thank you so much. So brave, so courageous, in a totally different way, in some of the same ways. Thank you so much. Awesome. Beautiful. That was fun. So we rolled the dice, and these beautiful wooden dice, and I think they were gifted by my adoptive ma, glory be, a 6 and a 4. And so before we dive into the telling, I appreciate playing with the numerology. And before I speak to that, I enjoy reminding that we are all different psychosocial science experiments. So what resonates for you may be different than what resonates for me or anyone else. So I invite you to explore more on your own. Anything you may see during this reading to help make this reading more meaningful for you, because that's why we're here, right? I mean, obviously we're here because we love you and love Romany telling, and it's so fun to play through together because the loss is so challenging. And I want to share the number 6. Number of service indicates presence of light and dark, good and evil. You see, I have those in quotes. We'll come back to that. Immersed in adoption, spirit, magic. We're operating by different standards. And the choices we make between these. So, immersed in adoption, spirit, magic, coming from a place of where we were devoted to leave no child behind to ensure every student succeeds. We began to think about, wow, what leaves people behind? And one of the things we came across is this notion of good and evil is really, really efficient for kicking one after another perceived lame dog out of the classrooms of life, after another, adopting success for only a select few who manage to behave a certain way. And so, pardon me, that is what allowed us to step away from applying these words as we had been taught. Many of us have been taught around the world in different cultures, and to replace evil, well, evil is just scapegoated loss, you know, that especially after the past couple years with the pandemic and man-made disasters around Mother Earth and Father Sky, that those times we're possessed by grief, any of us, and we want to hurt ourselves or someone else. And across time and space, looking at the data, that loss has been mistaken and mistreated as evil, and hasn't been so helpful in adopting success for one and all, transmuting violent cycles into love. So the 6 helps us remember that and play a totally new way of life. We can recognize light and dark, those times dancing with our dark, those times dancing with our darkness, the times when we're so grief struck by loss that we want to kill ourselves or someone else, but not really. And perhaps the number 6 helps us play through those times safe and sound, instead of hurting ourselves or others, emotional, physical rape through war, all the different ways that plays out. Perhaps the 6 may assist with that. And so these cards I'm shifting through are borrowed from Cindy Dale, Subtle Energy Healer. I think there is a, you can go to somewhere on this channel and link into her channel. And you may also be interested in her Subtle Body book, Subtle Body Practice Manual, her book on energetic boundaries. Thrilling, exciting. There's also an anatomy book that you can color in to help you really deepen your learning, to really activate that learning. And so during these times when we are being bombarded with so much information, and we how to figure out what is correct for us, and we've been practicing our whole life, practicing this gift of discernment, and we practiced in school, like in the 6th grade, if you were in US systems, and some international systems, writing your research paper and using your gift of discernment to pick which resources to use to write your research paper, and then putting each of those on a note card, virtual or real, to say, this is where I got this idea that I used in this paper. And this gift of discernment, we're still flexing it now. In the pandemic and events since have really um, helped us level up in different ways, using our gift of discernment, what is correct for us, and then helping us allow space for the other people in our house, home, school, business, nation do the same. Because everybody's a different psychosocial science experiment, and what works for one may not be different than what works for another. So how to help everybody play their cards, and the places where they're different and the same. And you may enjoy visiting spiritualist churches in your neck of the woods. They're all over the world, and the purpose of mediumship is to prove continuity of life, to prove personal survival, and personal unfoldment and growth. So hand in hand with lifelong learning and education, and especially as loss is what blocks loving, living, leading, learning the most, we've seen in our personal and professional experiences, to really tap into those healing cards so we can free up our will to develop academically, culturally, linguistically as we wish. And so for those times when you need a little assistance, perhaps you tap into the spiritualist churches in your area, and they may assist you in very helpful ways, lovely, beautiful, gentle ways. And let's see, what else here? That number 6 helps release unconscious benefits of repetitive patterns and embrace more joyful ways of responding to life. It defends against evil, quote unquote, evil forces such as psychic invasions, and enables us to maintain our integrity by maintaining healthy boundaries. So beautiful, that number 6. And so again, that evil, thinking about how to keep everybody in the classrooms of life, that evil's not so helpful. It's really helpful if we want to kick somebody out of our class. And it's really extremely effective if that is our goal. But if we want to ensure every student succeeds, that's not so helpful, and we let that go, immersed in adoption spirit magic. And we understand that those evil forces, such as psychic invasions, it's just people grief-struck by loss, possessed by grief, talking shit over food and drink. And we can learn more about different ways to protect ourselves from people like Cindy Dale, her book on energetic boundaries, and move minds instead of munitions, and save lives front, left, and center, starting with ourselves. And that is thrilling. Maintaining our integrity by maintaining healthy energetic boundaries, leaning into playing our healing cards instead of force marching. And that is thrilling, all the different ways that plays out. We could talk about this for the whole session, but really, we have some telling to do. And so a spiritualist healer is aware that once stress is removed from the mind, emotions, the body responds naturally. This brings about holistic healing in the patient. So what cards I've made adopted here from Cindy Dale that aren't from Cindy Dale, they're from the National Spiritualist Association of Churches. And so you can research more on your own, right? Data-driven dialogue. This is really, if you are in a position of leadership, we are learning to be really careful. This is our white flag to tag out, not to march forward and to say things like, oh, I wouldn't even treat my dog that way. You disgust me. No shame, no blame. I've been there. I've done that myself. In this cutoff culture, the stop crying or I'll give you a reason to cry culture, where the amygdala is ruling instead of our hearty mind, where our broken-hearted amygdala is ruling instead of our hearty mind. Humans can trip and fall into this, and so it's a white flag to tag out instead of force march, and to blame and shame, perhaps, if we are immersed in adoption spirit magic, dancing away from those emergency states. But if you want to maintain emergency states in that fight, flight, freeze, fuck, fawn, this is extremely effective to wield it as a tool. The other number we dice re-rolled was a 4, and that 4 grounds us and stabilizes us, especially if others are pulling on us energetically, mentally, emotionally. Like, do you feel like you're being bullied into picking a side right now? Perhaps this 4 stabilizes you and just allows you to visualize the whole world as if everybody's singing and dancing and peace on earth is ruling and everybody's so happy there's this peaceful solution. Nobody could possibly think about hurting themselves or anybody else. And just practice imagining that, feeling that, painting it, singing about it, writing about it as if it's already here. And perhaps that 4 helps us play with that, play through with that. And yeah, just really playing with our feelings, our thoughts, and our feelings, understanding the importance of that. Thoughts steer our feelings, and the feelings themselves create these chemical, attitudinal, even electrical environments that impact certain organs and meridians. And so to keep safe and sound and secure within our own body, within our own temple, and extending that from there, but we got to start with ourselves first, right? So helping distinguish, this is a helpful reminder, immersed in adoption spirit magic that we have found. And anger asks us to set boundaries, and that looks like for some, for example, dancing out of the fog of adoption fairy tales and gypsy myths and the matriarchy and the patriarchy and the grief struck by loss amygdala madly cycling fight, flight, freeze, fuck, fawn is for the best to correct. I set boundaries. I can't go into those spaces anymore. And when I start to get angry, that's my cue. I gotta tag out. I've accidentally tripped and fallen back into the fog, and I gotta back up. And along the way of learning how to set these boundaries, and in that way, looked like me being a tyrant and telling people what to do. Like, don't treat me that way. You can't treat me that way. Please don't treat me that way. Begging to demanding, victim to perpetrator, right? They've written songs about that. The Grateful Dead, check it out. So anger asks us to set those boundaries, but in a way that is very different than what the emergency states are telling us. That's been very, very different than how anger, all the times anger is used to get people to fall in line, from parent to professional to president, setting their jaw, using their tone, using their eyes, even anybody. That can be anybody, right? But people in leadership, using that anger, that's what that's when that's our amygdala speaking, our authoritative amygdala. And then that's when the democracy starts to look like a dictatorship or a military zone, perhaps. And so these are ways we can reset and peacefully dismantle and rebuild, is checking ourselves, right? Finding the peace within, and that's what's going to help bring the peace throughout. And these emotions, they're normal responses to external environment. They're actually thoughts combined with feelings. For so many of us, orphans and adoptees who are put in positions of taking care of others, putting others before ourselves, we didn't even know our feelings. We were just numb. We couldn't even cry. We weren't allowed to cry for our tears or feel our feelings. And it's not just the orphan and adoptee who are in these positions, right? How many people um, resonate with Orphan Annie, for example, or all the different ways orphans play out in the media, to even like Harry Potter. I see the orphan and adoptee and uh, so many places, from the immigrant to the refugee to the naturalized citizen. I could go on and on and on. But all that to say, when we're put in these positions where we are um, um, expected to put others' feelings before our own, it's really challenging to know what we feel, and shit can come out all sorts of sideways, and snafus all over the place. And so this, perhaps this information helps reel it in. It was helpful for me and so many others. And let's see. So that 4 and 2, it ends up to 10. The 6 and 4 add up to 10, which is the number of physical matter. It can create heaven on earth in the most beautiful way. It signifies starting over and building. Did I read that correctly? And so beautiful, beautiful messages here for us as we are warming up for the Romany telling, and a definition of psychic mediums. A medium is one whose organism is sensitive to vibrations from the spirit world and through whose intelligences in that world are able to convey messages and produce the phenomena of spiritualism. And so sweet. And some say we are all psychics, we are all mediums. These are some of our God-given gifts. Like some people say, we're all teachers, we're all artists, we're all fortune tellers. These are some of our God-given gifts, but only some choose to study and practice for life worth living. And so this is something that perhaps you're feeling already. Perhaps you've been curious about. Perhaps you have no interest whatsoever. Wherever you are, fun to play with this. And spiritualists always offer that, hey, you're always welcome to change your mind. If you're not believing this now, if you're not feeling this now, hey, cool, right? Because we're all different psychosocial science experiments, and free will is real. And but if you are interested, perhaps you've already been tapping in, especially with everything that's been happening, and perhaps, and with the time of year it is right now, right? The veil is thin, and so we are blessed to tap in with our team on the other side. And if you've been feeling especially sensitive, perhaps you've been picking up on objects, events, and people around you. Like if you're feeling like, wow, this is really intense, I don't know why it's hitting me so hard. All the different ways this plays out. Perhaps you'd notice the times that you are feeling like, wow, these old thoughts are coming back, wanting to hurt yourself or somebody else, even though you've danced away from that fight, flight, freeze, fuck, fawn, that amygdala, and you've immersed in adoption spirit magic. Perhaps some of that's coming back. You're like, wow, I thought I was over that. I've been working on that. I've been fleshing that. We've been rebuilding, healing. Well, perhaps you're picking up on others feeling the same. And perhaps you're also picking up on others on both sides of the fence. People talking smack about other people, and then the other people picking up on being talked poorly, being talked about negatively, and wanting to hurt themselves because it's so sad, or wanting to hurt somebody else because it's so sad. And so you can just kind of check yourself and give yourself a little extra time and space. 3 days, miracles happen in 3 days, to help be able to decipher what's what for you. 24 hours perhaps isn't as tolerant for you or a human to process and translate what's coming in. So much is coming in. So to allow yourself a little extra time in this adoption spirit magic, now that we are not force marching, now that we are not racing from here to there, and now that we know that we can move minds, not munitions, that nobody's evil, we don't have to kill anybody, we just need to help people heal and envision. Part of that is envisioning them already healed, just happy, like they have their basic needs met. And looking at Maslow's hierarchy of needs may flesh that out, those basic hierarchy of needs. Let's see. And perhaps one of the some of the cards that we can play now that we're not force marching, now that we're not feeling like we have to race from here to there to save the world, is to really examine our own losses and how what's coming up is triggering our own losses that we've just swept under the carpet because we were told that was for the best and correct. And just one at a time, those lost cards, you can write them one per card in pencil, and then as the gifts unfold, as the rainbows and silver linings unfold, you can paint that beautifully on the other side of those cards. But really remembering those first tribes remind that tears are rainbows to your soul. And so to have that pretty cry space ready for you when that time comes, the pretty cry towel and the cuddly blanket and all the accoutrements to have a beautiful cry, to talk with your soul and work it through instead of force marching and hurting yourself or someone else. And yeah, so that was fun. And now we're getting into number 10. We rolled number 10. And Brené Brown, Atlas of the Heart, mapping meaningful connection and the languages of human experience. Pardon me. Random House. And her workbook. And, yep, that's us. Thank you so much, Brené Brown, and my partner, for securing this resource for us. And to be honest, I have not worked my way through it. But you can see we are working. And so the workbook's there for you. You may access it on your own. And then the beautiful Atlas of the Heart. And so now that we're not force marching, we're not fight, flight, freeze, fuck, fawn of our authoritative amygdala, we're not listening to that anymore. I mean, we are, as a white flag to tag out instead of force march. Now we get to explore the Atlas of our heart. And then when our heart is full, we can explore the world in an equitable, dignified way that honors everyone and the Mother Earth and the Father Sky. And so what a beautiful book. And if any of you have tuned into Brené Brown and her TED Talk, you know she is just outstanding, brilliant, creative. And you may catch up with her at those places. Oh my God, this is so thrilling to share this beautiful star with you and offer you some more cards to play through, especially during these times when, wow, it could be feeling really stormy out there. And you don't want to go race out or run your mouth or talk shit anymore. And so what can you do? What are you going to do? And so maybe this is one of the books that you put on your list and that you keep in the rotation. And we are so grateful for Brené helping us understand ourselves more, and for her vulnerability helping us understand how and why that is important for us and how that gets us to where we want to go. Oh my goodness. Oh my gracious. We are thrilled to share it with you. We are the map makers and the travelers. So beautiful. And so we hope you found at least one helpful bit in this piece, in this session. And thank you so much for shuffling states of emergency into adoption spirit magic with us, and for steering clear of danger, and for playing your cards heartily. We are grateful. Until next time, ciao for now. We love you all.